is low risk, high reward, not a high yield.
Low risk, high reward is something that is unrealistic. That is something that we're telling you on our side. And we're telling you that is the better metric to go about things. Because what you are telling people is that low risk and because essentially what you are telling people is that low risk and low reward is not something that we're going to be buying into essentially. But we're telling you that all scammers have to do on your side is say that you will get 350,000 via their metric. That is seen as something that will be flagged. And we believe that this is fundamentally problematic because it is a realistic return. We are able to show you in what ways we can promise that return is something that is going to happen. So we don't buy into the entire chat when they say we're not able to achieve this, because we have clearly outlined how the best way in order to make sure that these scams are actually stopping is by looking into how these people are able to achieve their returns and not the return within themselves, because again, a high return is something that is realistic at a point that a high risk is happening, and that is just what we're trying to explain. If they took time to listen instead of coming to the podium and speaking for 4 minutes and actually analyzing things, maybe this would have been a more engaging debate, right? But then fundamentally, what are important things that we need to highlight? Firstly, we get our whip extension. The whip comes and speaks to us about protection. There was no analysis from any case about how this protection is achieved. It was simply something that the member stated and never gave us any analysis on. Do not let them get away with forfeiting their speaker roles. But furthermore, what is something even then that they start bringing forward in their cases that we find is very weird? Notice how Terefina's case stays standing, and I will now be referencing it and strengthening it. Terefina explains to you how, one, the way in which Namibian economies function currently, this is not a good indicator. People can simply promise you land and run away with your money. By saying that we're only looking at returns, we're not actually going to flag and stop all scams. How we look at scams needs to be universal.
Can we get another round of applause for the honorable members? Yeah. Now that's how you close a debate. Just a reminder for the House. The motion was this House would mandate that any financial product advertising returns above a certain threshold be subject to automatic investigation by the central bank. Did government convince you? I don't know. Thank you very much. Let's please give a warm round of applause one more time for our debaters as they take down the stage. Please take all your things, all the papers, evidence. We don't want to leave any clues for the next teams. Up next, we'll have Team C and Team D that will be represented by the University of Namibia, current champions, as well as the Triumphant College. We give them exactly 5 more minutes is what they have left to prepare, and then we'll bring them onto the stage. Thank you very much.
dedicated to regional international cooperation. When designing Namibia's new 60 Namibia dollar commemorative banknote, the process began with a clear narrative, honoring the legacy of Dr. Hage G. Geingob while integrating the Bank of Namibia's vision. The design team focused on a blend of artistry, functionality, and advanced security. The portrait of Dr. Geingob in the transparent window was a focal point. The design captures his character, refining the image to create both visual and emotional resonance. To enhance security, part of the portrait was expanded into a print mark. Features like colored gravier, argentum silver ink, and gold accents that are revealed when the note is tilted add a layer of sophistication, further increasing the note's security. Representing Namibia's strong sense of national pride and spirit of resilience, a secondary transparent window showcases the Independence Memorial Museum. The windows of the museum were used to create transparent windows in the polymer, reflecting the building's architecture. The reverse of the note showcases Dr. Geingob holding the Dr. Hage Geingob Cup, symbolizing his contributions to Namibian football and community development. In the background, we see an image highlighting the strides taken in sustainable energy under Dr. Geingob's leadership. When the note is viewed under UV light, hidden design elements are revealed in stunning detail. The result is a blend of artistry and innovation. From the impactful window portrait to the intricate security features, this commemorative banknote celebrates Dr. Geingob's legacy and Namibia's forward-thinking spirit. Dr. Hage G. Geingob, a visionary leader, a proud Namibian, and a legacy that will inspire generations. Dr. Hage G. Geingob, a towering figure in Namibia's history, served as a beacon of hope and a symbol of progress. As Namibia's third president, his leadership from 2015 to 2024 marked a transformative era for the nation. Dr. Geingob's leadership as chairman of the Constituent Assembly was crucial in shaping Namibia's constitution. His vision and dedication to democracy established a legal framework that champions justice, freedom, and human rights. The legacy of unity and resilience he leaves behind continues to inspire, setting a high standard for democratic governance in Africa. Known for his unwavering commitment to democracy and inclusivity, Dr. Geingob championed a transformative agenda for the country, steering the nation toward economic progress, social equity, and sustainable development. Dr. Geingob's visionary leadership propelled Namibia forward, honoring the enduring legacy of the late Dr. Sam Nujoma, the first president and founding father of the Republic of Namibia. Together, the founding leaders of our republic embodies Namibia's strength, resilience, and unity. Under Dr. Geingob's administration, Namibia saw significant strides in the diversification of the economy and laid the foundation for economic recovery and sustainable growth, creating opportunity for future generations. On the global stage, Dr. Geingob was a voice for African unity and sustainable development, earning respect as a statesman dedicated to regional and international cooperation. When designing Namibia's new 60 Namibia dollar commemorative banknote, the process began with a clear narrative, honoring the legacy of Dr. Hage G. Geingob while integrating the Bank of Namibia's vision. The design team focused on a blend of artistry, functionality, and advanced security. The portrait of Dr. Geingob in the transparent window was a focal point. The design captures his character, refining the image to create both visual and emotional resonance. To enhance security, part of the portrait was expanded into a print mark. Features like colored gravier, argentum silver ink, and gold accents that are revealed when the note is tilted add a layer of sophistication, further increasing the note's security.
Thank you.
Representing Namibia's strong sense of national pride and spirit of resilience, a secondary transparent window.
Thank you very much. It's time for us to start with Team C and Team D. Still the first round. As mentioned, of course, the format remains the same. Do we have all the judges here? Okay, let's give the judges 2 minutes to get back into the venue. Can someone go get the judges, please? Suzette, can you please get the judges? By the central bank. That's the motion. Proposing this motion, please welcome the current champions or the defending champions representing the University of Namibia, albeit of course with a new team. Right Honorable Prime Minister and First Speaker, Abraham Angula. Welcome the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Ara David. Member of Government, Honorable Iris Shimanda. And last but not least, the Chief Whip for Government. Please make a round of applause for Shitana Kambadembi. Representing the opposition from the Triumphant College, please give a warm round of applause to the Leader of Opposition, Honorable Panduleni France. Deputy Leader of Opposition, Triumphant College, please welcome Honorable Andrea Mirandi Kubas. Ordinary Member of the Opposition, please welcome with a warm round of applause, Komeni Ngais. And last but not least, please welcome Frida Jasmine Asino, Honorable Member and Chief Whip for the Opposition. Once again, a reminder for the House, of course, we want to remain as quiet as possible during arguments. Where we support those arguments, of course, we are allowed to make some noise in support of those. Again, a reminder, each speaker gets 7 minutes. The first minute is protected. The 5 minutes in between, points of information are allowed. Each point of information is only allowed to run for 15 seconds top, whereas we'll, of course, interrupt if they continue speaking after that. Again, a reminder, each speaker is allowed to take at least a minimum of 2 points of information. The object of the point of information is to indicate or to find out whether the speaker really can defend the point that they are proposing or opposing. Again, a reminder, the first and second speakers, of course, are allowed to bring in new information. The last speakers, the whips, are not allowed to bring in any information in support or in opposition of any argument that was presented here. Without wasting any time, representing the former champions, please welcome the Right Honorable Prime Ministers who set the tone and define the motion for this morning. A round of applause for Right Honorable Abraham Angula.
I just want to make sure, am I audible? Everyone can hear me? Cool. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, we think for far too long have illicit financial schemes led individuals to fall victim to scams which have cost them their jobs, their livelihoods, but most importantly, their futures.
Outline to us who the central bank is in your world?
I think the central bank is like the bank that's organizing this. So Bank of Namibia would be the central bank. The bank is the country of Namibia would be the central bank that's doing this. So like I explained before, the central bank exists because they have the mandate. But secondly, the central bank exists to protect all of us as individuals and citizens who pay tax and actually engage in any financial activity in the country. Hope there's clarity on your question there. Cool. Let's move into my positive matter quickly and what we're going to talk to you guys about in today's debate. So 2 points of contention. One goal exists to protect the citizens of the Namibian nation, to protect everybody that pays taxes and engages in financial activity in the country. We think that the bank is in the best position to do this, and they do this best by making sure you subject people to investigation. The issue then isn't status quo when you don't subject people to investigation. We think that's fundamentally a problem. We don't think we're doing anything wrong by subjecting you to investigation, because if you don't do anything wrong, nothing's going to happen to you. So we think our end goal and why you should care about this, that you can actually be subject to investigation and go to prison for things like that. We think that people are now less likely or far less likely to do illegal schemes and schemes that actually rip people off. If they see this actual repercussion in the form of investigation, we think that people are less likely to think twice and be like, okay, cool, there's some actual harm to this and we're not going to actually do it. What do we think is the comparative on their side of the house? On their side of the house, in as much as the punishment actually exists, telling people that, listen, if you pass the threshold of 30% to try and bait people to invest in your stuff, then actually you're going to be subject to it. We think the people who perpetuate Ponzi schemes and stuff like this are actually scared. We think that our side of the house, we create the deterrence. If you want to side with the side, number one, who cares about protecting the Namibian citizen, the taxpayers' money, but secondly, the side who wants to deter like fake Ponzi schemes and people who want to rob people, you side with side government. Thank you.
We thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister for setting the tone and defining the motion for the first round. We now welcome the Leader of Opposition. Please give a warm round of applause to Honorable Panduleni France.
My speech starts in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand that this threshold, the reason why it's not there within status quo is that it's the possibility of making a large amount of money is still there. Although it's not promised, it's still there. The moment you get, the moment it's going to look like to now start limiting people on accomplish my dreams and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. You may come up here talking about the Gini coefficient, but it's going to be beautiful utopian world to us where you are telling us, no, the 30% sharp, the people get investigated and all of that. But then, okay, you need to look at the funding. Money makes the world go round. You're not expecting these investigators to be doing things for free, ladies and gentlemen. This money needs to be allocated into the right areas. It's supposed to be allocated to where it's supposed to be, where it's going to help other things, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be even more effective, ladies and gentlemen. And with that said, what have I told you within today's debate? I've basically given you proper rebuttals, and I've given you my 2 points of argumentations, which were the economic look within the long run, and then I told you that there is a lack of funds, and I gave you a burden of proof. And with
Thank
that
you,
said, I'm
Speaker.
glad to
Thank you.
oppose.
Round of applause for the LO.
You did well. Very.
Our next speaker is the Deputy Prime Minister with a responsibility to refute the case of the first opposition, rebuild the case of the first proposition, and may add new arguments to the case of the first proposition. Please give a warm round of applause to Right Honorable Ara David.
Starting in 3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are currently living in a Namibia where, number one, people's pensions are people are being scammed of their pensions. Students are investing their money and their refunds. Mind you, they don't even have jobs, and people are continuously getting scammed. And Panduleni comes up here and asks us for agency, ladies and gentlemen. What more agency does he need in order for him to act, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I would like to go into my first some sort of engagement, which is going to be rebutting Panduleni's case, right? So Panduleni come up here and tells us that, number one, it's a waste of time and a waste of funding, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we feel like, number one, we need to look into the obligation and mandate of the Bank of Namibia, right? We need to understand that under the sections that were provided to us, the Bank of Namibia has a direct obligation to, number one, not only regulate commercial banks, but to make sure that the economy is stable in all forms, right? In regards of, number one, keeping us away from things such as financial schemes, but also making sure that the economy is stable in the sense that no one can act in capacity of a bank, right? So Panduleni then says that the Bank of Namibia shouldn't have or doesn't have funds for this. But we say that essentially, if the Bank of Namibia should have funds for anything, it would be, number one, to regulate the financial market and to regulate financial products and to make sure each and every single person's investments and savings are safe and backed up, and they are given into trusted sources, right? We also have to go into the second argument where he talks about how is the police obligation or whatsoever, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand that, number one, the Bank of Namibia should be the police doesn't have the experts that are supposed to be doing this, and the police is in charge of prosecution, but is clearly not effective enough in terms of actually having proper investigations carried out, because they don't have the proper tools in terms of knowledge and experience and understanding how a financial market is supposed to function and how a stable economy is supposed to look like. But that is the mandate of the Bank of Namibia, and the Bank of Namibia has a direct obligation to engage society on that, essentially, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into defending what Wavy came up here and said, right? So Panduleni tries to engage us by saying, number one, he comes up here and tries to engage us by saying that he tries to engage us. Basically, he doesn't try to engage us in any way except by telling us that he doesn't have the funds for it. But we tell you that the Bank of Namibia has the funds to back this, because this is essentially their mandate, and we tell you that it is the direct obligation of Bank of Namibia to do all these things, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, what does Panduleni then tell us within today's debate? He tells us about things such as GDP and how GDP will fall and whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, we feel like when people essentially are afraid to trust institutions with their money, that's when GDP is actually affected, right? We have a government, or we have a calculation where the Bank of Namibia has to calculate how much money is invested into the economy, how much savings are kept by these people, and when people don't trust and people want to have cash on hand regularly, we feel like when they lose their trust in the financial banking system, we have an unstable economy, and we have indicators that are then affected, whereby the actual reflection of the kind of money that comes in and out of the country doesn't actually make sense, right? So he also tells us about how He tells us about how Forex doesn't have a fixed income, but we then tell you that if we all know that Forex is an unstable or whatsoever unstable form of investment, we feel like Forex traders should then actually not be allowed to, one, not only promise people certain amounts by telling us that you're getting 100% or even 300% of your returns back within 24 hours. We feel like that essentially is problematic because, number one, it is illegal and it's deceiving and it's a form of scamming, and it highly needs to be engaged, and these people have to be stopped, right? Any POIs before I move on? Wow. Okay. So, moving on to my arguments, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, my first argument is, number one, restoring trust in financial institutions in terms of investing and saving, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, when I came up here, I gave you a very clear opening statement. Number one, we need to understand how people are slowly and surely starting to disengage with the financial institutions, or trying to disengage with actually investing and saving their money, right? We tell you that this brings some sort of financial instability, and also when people get scammed and they lose their livelihoods and lose their futures, that's essentially problematic within society. And that's why we tell you that in order to reinstate financial stability and create a nature where people actually believe in saving, and investments actually, and people become much more business minded, we feel like we then have a much better economical situation in our country, right? So, number one, why is this essentially important? I already tell you this, that it solves away with our problem and deals away with the problem. Wavy already tells you guys about how, number one, how it deters from future schemes, and how we limit these people from actually moving through the economy swiftly and making money off of other people's off of other people's futures and off of other people's funds. And he tells you about how he's trying to safeguard the citizens from financial traps, right? We tell you that this is essentially important within our economy, because if you want to have a stable economy, which is number one of the most important mandates of the Bank of Namibia, of the central bank of the country, we feel like you need to reinstate, or you need to safeguard the funds of the citizens and make sure that these citizens invest their money in safe and secure places, and they actually, and when we say actually, we put emphasis on actually get their funds back. Ladies and gentlemen, we tell you about how unrealistic a return of about 30% doesn't exist within our economy, and we feel like that means that people are basically just losing their money and they don't actually get their money back. Imagine investing up to 500,000 in a financial scheme and never getting this back and hoping to make the 5 million from it. That's basically not good for our economy, and it doesn't make sense. It destroys trust, and it destroys trust and destroys whatsoever. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever I told you within today's debate, I essentially have given you guys the importance and the agency. They gave us, or they placed us with certain burdens within today's debate. We tell you that it's morally justifiable for the Bank of Namibia to question each and every single financial product, or each and every single financial transaction that goes in within our country, especially those that go above our threshold, because they pose as a threat to be number one, financial schemes, and to be number two, to be actually illegal. And in terms of agency, I actually engage there by saying that each and every single day, one out of 3 people are scammed, and this means that we have an unsafe economy. Thank you.
We thank the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister for defending their case. The next speaker, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, continues refutation of case of first proposition and rebuilds on the arguments of the first opposition. They may also add new arguments to the case of the first opposition. Please give a warm round of applause to Andrea Kubas.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today we need to understand what my world and what my house and I are advocating for. Or better yet, I should say who we are advocating for within today's debate. We are advocating for the entrepreneur. What about the entrepreneur? Now, before I dive into that, we need to understand what is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the risk of taking on an entrepreneurial venture in hopes of it venturing into success. That is what we need to understand. That is who we are advocating for today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I would like to begin by stating that they came up here and gave us mandates of the Bank of Namibia. Fine. But the mandate that we are going to be focusing on from my house at the side, that is also from the Bank of Namibia, is that the Bank of Namibia is the government's bank, is the government's banker's banker, and is also the financing advisor of the government, and is also the fiscal agent of the government. Now, what did my first speaker come up here and tell you? We came up here and we told you that the threshold of 30% is going to be bringing a declined speaker. Warm your seat. Is going to be coming up here. My first speaker came up here and made it clear that there are going to be a lot of limitations on the earnings that are going to be taking place. Now, one thing we need to understand is, how is this threshold going to be catering for the man on the ground? How is it going to be catering for the entrepreneur, the one that we are advocating for during this debate, ladies and gentlemen? The entrepreneur that has an enterprise, and within that enterprise, mind you, also has workers that need to get paid, ladies and gentlemen. And the second thing that my speaker brought up here was, he came up here and he said the cost of this threshold, ladies and gentlemen. What we are saying here is, as we all know, according to status quo, the main source of income of the government is through taxes, ladies and gentlemen. So the more this entrepreneur earns, the more this entrepreneur pays to the government, and the government is then able to cater to the men on the ground through essential services, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when we bring this limitation, when we bring this threshold, could they came up here and they only spoke about the forex trader. Now, our question from my house is, what about all the other financial products? Are they going to be allowed to do whatever they want to do? Are they going to be allowed to run around and make as much as money as they want to? Because the only financial product they spoke of during this debate, the only financial product they mentioned to us was the forex trader. Now, what about all the other financial products that exist within today's world, ladies and gentlemen? Have they been put into consideration, ladies and gentlemen? Moving on. I will take your PI speaker.
Okay, two things. Number one, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not doing anything wrong, why do you have a problem being investigated? But secondly, if you're as an entrepreneur, is it okay to be an entrepreneur even if you're still scamming people?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak from his words. He came up here and he told us, we are not saying that we are going to prosecute these people after arresting them. He came up here and he said, we are going to investigate them to see if it's legal or illegal. Now, that is not the point. The burden here is, what we are saying is, how are you going to be catering to the entrepreneur, the person that is going to be most affected by this threshold, ladies and gentlemen? Because one thing we should realize is that we live in a world that is we live in an economical world. We need to look at this from an economical basis, ladies and gentlemen, which is what the entrepreneur, the private sector contributes so much to the Namibian economy. Now, we come up here, we put these limitations on the private sector. How are we going to grow the private sector, and how are we going to increase the GDP within the country, ladies and gentlemen? That is our burden during today's debate. That is the major concern, because according to status quo, the public sector is the biggest within the Namibian economy. Now, the private sector is the one that is going to be mainly affected, including the taxes that are going to be paid to the government. How are they going to be catering to the man on the ground? How are they going to be catering to the person that is going to be most affected by this, which is the entrepreneur, the economist, the businessman, and not only that, the people that are working within those organizations? That is something I expect them to come up here and come and answer for us, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on, I decline the speaker. Warm your seat. Thank you. Moving on. As my speaker, now one thing we should also realize is that we live in Namibia. Namibia has an Namibia is a mixed economic system. What we need to understand is that we have three sectors within the Namibian economy. We have the public sector, we have the secondary sector, we have the tertiary sector. Now, you are coming up here trying to bring an illusion, an unrealistic instability that would ruin the markets of Namibia by claiming that every earning should be equal, like every profit or interest made from those sectors should be equal, which is very problematic and unrealistic, ladies and gentlemen. Because mind you, these are different types of businesses that come from different types of sectors, that have different types of mandates, and that provide different types of entrepreneurial opportunities to different people within the communities. How do you just set a limitation without setting a certain incentive for the entrepreneur to be backed up at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen? Now, what am I saying during what have I told you during this debate? I showed you the loopholes within their policy, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of loopholes within their policy, ladies and gentlemen, because they are not coming to justify the burden that we have given them. And as long as they don't justify that burden, they will lose during today's debate, ladies and gentlemen. How are they going to cater to the man on the ground that is affected during this debate, ladies and gentlemen? With that, I rest my case. Any POIs?
Yeah. So how about you just don't do anything wrong and no one will investigate you?
What's the purpose of the Namibian Defense Force?
We give a round of applause to the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Our next speaker is the Member of Government. Member of Government's responsibility is to provide an extension, defend the general direction and case of the first proposition, develop a new argument that is different from but consistent with the case of the first proposition, sometimes of course referred to as an extension. Let's give a warm round of applause to Honorable Iris Shimanda, Member of Government.
Panel, we think the man on the ground looks like individuals who are extremely desperate and will invest in anything because they're in circumstances where they cannot afford basic necessities. We think these are individuals that buy into the Ponzi schemes, into the Forex, into the false investments that my first and second speaker clearly articulated to you. What then becomes problematic is their misunderstanding of the 30% threshold. This is to say that if you are promising individuals more than 30% of returns on an investment, we think that you should be taken under investigation because it is, for lack of a better word, sketchy. You are untrustworthy and you are misleading the public. And because we care about our citizens and the man actively on the ground, these people that are already suffering and unable to provide for themselves, we think it's particularly important to protect these individuals and ensure that what you are doing or promising is actively real and realistic. But beyond that, we think the trust of our people, of the man on the ground, is already low in our financial institutions. They don't deposit money into banks. They don't actively use the systems that we have in place. We think what becomes particularly problematic on their side is that they try to defend these scammers. They try to say that the market will regulate themselves and we should allow people to continue being scammed. We think it's problematic. What do they then do to deter this particular problem? One, they haven't negated that the problem is actually there, but secondly, they also haven't been able to prove to us how they then deter that and face that particular problem. We think that is problematic. Few points of clarification and rebuttal. They come up from the first speaker and he says 3 things. Thresholds are not going to work. 1, because Forex is unreliable, money is being wasted, and 3, there's a possibility, so we should still do these things, right? 1, we say if you are sure that that 50% or 100% profit that you are promising within 24 hours is real, why are you so afraid to be subjected to investigation? It's investigation, not prosecution, which means you are simply we are simply ensuring that our citizens are protected, which is the mandate of the bank in the first place. So what then is the mandate of the Bank of Namibia in terms of the citizens of Namibia if we are not protecting the men on the ground, if we are not protecting those that are vulnerable and unable to provide for themselves? We think we want individuals to trust in our financial systems so that commercial banks can actively not only make money but also be able to uplift these individuals. We think individuals investing is a good thing. Individuals having money to buy basic necessities is a good thing. But I'll also extend on how we lose the real investors like the Capricorn banks that fund our commercial banks and why that's particularly problematic. Then we also talk about two, risk and market, right? We think that the market, yes, the market unfortunately does not regulate itself, because as he said, the possibility is there, but it's a possibility. We are unsure. It's not 100% fact, thus it must be regulated. Then thirdly, we say the importance of trust in financial institutions of the man in the ground is particularly important, because it promises us economic stability from the man on the ground to the top institutions. We think those things are particularly important. The moment you don't have those things, we had the example of Albania in Mr. Kazimbire's speech, but you were not listening. The things that those things can cause, the violence, the active violence that people can start inflicting on each other, and the separation that the nation can experience because of those particular things, right? Then they come up and they talk about the entrepreneur, about limitation and existence. I've already tackled this part of limitation, because we are not limiting how much profit somebody can make. We're simply limiting how much of a promise you're making to somebody about returns. That has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. That has everything to do with scammers and investments. And even the economist that you're talking about would be very disappointed in your form of argumentation, because your economist is looking at economic stability. Your economist is looking at the man on the ground and how actively investments and banks are being affected by these particular things. But even furthermore than that, as I said,
POC?
I'll take you in a few minutes. What we are saying is, if an investor, an international investor such as Capricorn Bank, realizes there is no form of regulation on money, and that there's a lack of trust from the man on the ground for financial institutions like Bank Windhoek, we are going to have a lot of investors pulling out of the Namibian economy. We think economic instability is something that we are trying to avoid at all costs. But secondly, we particularly believe that the trust of our individuals on the ground is more important to us. We think we are willing to spend as much money as it takes if it builds back the trust that our individuals and our citizens are having in us. We think that is particularly more important to us than investors that don't care about regulation. We think the real investors, the ones with the real money, actively care about regulation and their money being protected, therefore. Now, I'll quickly take you.
POC, we are not advocating for the economists. We spoke about the business
You
owner.
spoke about the economist, and you also spoke about the entrepreneur. Let me maybe explain why your entrepreneur doesn't make sense in this context. One, it doesn't make sense because if they're doing nothing wrong, they won't have a problem with regulation. But two, entrepreneurs are business people. You're talking about your Checkers, your ShopRite, the individuals that pay people. But what we are talking about, one, is investments. So we're talking about your forex traders, we're talking about your commercial banks. And this is why the motion says any, to ensure that even commercial banks are allowed to be investigated. Because we're facing a lot of deep fake videos that are lying on behalf of our banks. We're facing a lot of individuals who are scamming people actively out of money. Those are the things we are talking about. To the point at which you are unable to explain how a business selling something to you is going to give you a return, you've already lost this particular debate, and we are so proud to propose.
We recognize the contribution by the member of government. Our next speaker is the member of opposition, responsible for defending the general direction taken by the first opposition, continues the general refutation of first proposition, and provides more specific refutation. Judges, please take note that the member of opposition can also provide new opposition arguments. Please give a warm round of applause to Honorable Komeni Hayes.
All right, I will start with my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, it's very problematic when we have the PM of proposition that comes up here and tells us that apparently what they're so fully focused on is safeguarding this citizens, right? That pay taxes, this pensioners, this forex traders and whatnot that are involved in these financial activities, right? That is what they're worried about, right? And then the second speaker comes up here and he also speaks about how there's the Bank of Namibia's mandate on how to safeguard money, right? Engage in social society, right? Financial products and whatnot, right? The main problem that we're finding is that we don't have a problem, right, with the mandate of Bank of Namibia. We have a problem with the mere fact that you will say that you're going to take funds that you're going to find from, I don't know, God knows where. You still didn't tell us where it's going to come from and who it's going to benefit. Because what if this forex trader that you are so forth advocating for does not need you to come up there and investigate their money? Because inherently, you are infringing on their rights for them to choose to want to do that particular thing that they're trying to invest in and make money. Because inherently, at status quo wise, what is happening on the ground? People are unemployed. People need money. I'm going to take you in a few. People need money. People need ways on how they're going to increase their living standards, right? We are people that are studying, and some of us owe our schools, right? So if we hear a way on how to make money, we will invest in it, right? And at the end of the day, why will I want you to come and take my 1 million and try and come and investigate on my 1 million? Very problematic, right? They come up here and they paint a picture of how we don't inherently care about the man on the ground. But we're not worried about the man on the ground. What we are telling you is that inherently, when you are going to put in a certain threshold that you're talking about, right? You are basically making, they spoke about the mandate of Namibia, right? Which is to safeguard money, right? And basically still have money that is left to redistribute to the people, right? So they can be there for people to use inherently, right? So at the end of the day, what are we saying? A simple proposition that if this Bank of Namibia, their so-called stakeholder, right, does this, we find it very problematic because it is not the matter at hand, right? These people choose to do what they're doing. We're not saying we're scared, right? Why must we be scared that we're going to be investigated? We don't have a problem with being scared. We really don't mind. The problem is that we are wasting funds, right, that we could have used in other matters, right? Going into my first argument, that is opportunity cost, right? That initiative for them taking to go invest, take money, and find out where did that money come from, what are they doing with that money, who is the money going to benefit, we find it very problematic. Because if you look at the problem at hand, right? Namibia as a whole, right now, talking status quo-wise, right? In February 2014, last year, Namibia was grey listed, right? Because it had a strategic let me breathe. All right. Because of money laundering, we understand this. Because of money laundering, countering terrorism and financial frameworks, right? The Financial Action Task Force identified 72 recommended actions for Namibia to address. And although this has not been in progress properly, it has been a way in how they're going to basically reprimand this damage that has been caused. Because being grey listed basically how can I say, the mandate that they're talking about for economic growth, it hinders that, and that is what we find problematic. We could have used the funds and how we are going to literally, I'll take your POI quickly.
POI, look, you're running away from the question. We've clarified to you that the bank is the one that investigates and funds the actual investigations. So please engage the point on people being scammed and us trying to protect citizens.
The bank does, right, is going to take this initiative to fund this, whatever that you're finding problematic. But we don't find this problematic. We find it problematic that if you take this money and you're going to invest it in having to investigate this certain financial product, right, in how these people are making money, we find it problematic because it is not the problem at hand. We're talking about the entrepreneur, the people that make money from this, the people that inherently are trying to find a way in how they can live. I'll take your PI quickly.
Under the Bank of Namibia Act of 2023, Section 7, the Bank of Namibia has the power to investigate and freeze accounts. Investigations are delegated to the Director and Deputy Governor. In that particular respect, tell us then why the bank shouldn't be doing this and how they'll be spending money if the department already exists.
Because at hand, you ought to understand, right? In our world, we are not saying, right, that this financial product that you painted to us, right, which is inherently this guy that does forex, this pensioners that are losing their money, we don't find that very problematic. Because at hand, why are these people, right? Why is this forex trader choosing to want to forex? Why is this pensioner going to partake in this pyramid scheme, in this Ponzi scheme? Why? We find that problematic. If only the Bank of Namibia would focus on other arenas on how
how they can solve the issue of the root of the problem and why these people choose to want to do these things, that is a way of solving it. Not trying, these people didn't even say, I need you guys to do this. They're doing it because they want to do it. You're infringing on these people's rights. They want to do it, that's why they're doing it. So inherently, what did we give you in today's debate, right? Is that we are telling you that we do not have a problem with these people choosing that they are going to, even if the X sense, the mandate of Bank of Namibia, we understand it, is to do all of those things, but we don't find it problematic from our side of the world. We find it problematic that the fact that these people that are engaging in this, right, you are literally telling them that whether you like it or not, we're going to make this happen. No, it's not about whether you like it or not. It's about these people having to come to a place of wanting you guys to do that. There are other more important things that we can focus on, right? That is inherently what we're saying. I'll take any POIs.
So, explain to us, how exactly do you protect and safeguard citizens then on your side of the house?
Oh, how do we safeguard it? Right. Let me go back to that. Right. How do we safeguard these people? It is by coming up with more substantive measures that have worked. The Bank of Namibia already amended a few of their acts, right? They've amended it. Why are those acts not being put in place, right now in current status? Core-wise, we don't really have a problem with these things existing. We have a problem with the way that we're trying to solve this issue, which is not the solution that we need at hand, and that is what we find problematic in our world, right? We told you in today's debate that the man on the ground is the person that is majorly being affected because this person contributes, right, to the economic growth of the country inherently. Even if they didn't even tell us when they came up here that a certain amount that they make, more than 1 million, is going to be a way in how we're going to automatically investigate this person. They did not, which is, even if it's 30%, it does not inherently indicate, is that 30%, who is it harming? Who is that 30% harming? It's not telling us who it's harming, and that is what we inherently find problematic. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
We thank the member of opposition for providing the extension. Last but not least, we call on the government whip, whose responsibility is to summarize the entire debate from the point of view of the proposition, defending the general viewpoint of both proposition teams with special eye toward the case of the second proposition. Judges, please note, they are not allowed to provide new arguments. Please welcome, representing University of Namibia, Chief Whip Honorable Shitana Kambadembi.
Am I audible? Chair, I think it's inherently problematic when in the current status quo, 1 in 3 individuals are continuously scammed and opposition has no solution. Firstly, it is quite contradictory for them to continuously say they agree that there is a problem, but continuously tell us that they don't have a solution to that particular problem entirely. We tell you that that is a huge philosophical problem that we get from team opposition. What did they say and why it's particularly harmful within today's debate? Number one, they tell us as to how earnings don't exist within proposition side, taxes are harmed within proposition side. This is particularly false on the case that things such as earnings and taxation exist on both sides, right? But within today's debate, you get a more comparative advantage within proposition. In the case of investment is better because individual trust is gained through our initiative. But most importantly, you gain more better foreign direct investment because countries or like foreign individuals are most likely to invest in countries that are able to have like a better and stable economy within the current status quo. And I think that is valuable within today's debate. What did we inherently expect from opposition and how they entirely failed? We expected argument as to how it's particularly harmful for the central bank to investigate individuals who are suspected in terms of things such as scams, right? We don't hear those arguments from opposition. Secondly, we expected to hear as to how immediate investigation is something harmful, but secondly, how the pragmatic outcomes of having immediate investigation is something that is not going to lead to any form of like better society within today's debate. That is how they lacked within today's debate entirely, right? So, what do we tell you within today's debate? firstly, we tell you as to how the individuals being harmed within status quo are individuals who can't even afford basic needs and services. And this is why they continuously fall into these traps. It is then the mandate of the central bank to ensure that these incentives and these things don't exist in the first place. Even if they are reduced by 30% or even 1%, we believe that is entirely justified for us to continuously have immediate investigation to ensure that the stability and the economy, to ensure that the economy is stable, but most importantly to ensure that individuals are not continuously being left out within the economy in terms of like spending and making money within itself. Before I move on, ma'am.
Do you concede to the fact that Bank of Namibia's mitigation of illegal financial schemes has been
Clearly that hasn't been working because scams still exist. We find that the problem still exists, and that is why we need to continuously implement immediate investigation within itself. You agree that these problems exist. You don't give us a solution. That is the problem within today's debate, right? They continuously tell us as to where are the funds going to come from. They fail to understand that this is a central bank that makes the money in the first place. But entirely, we find it very important. We find it justified for the central bank to continuously invest in investigations, right? On the fact that its main mandate is to ensure that there's economic stability entirely, right? So what is the point of having a central bank if it doesn't invest in things such as investigations within itself? We find that defeating within today's debate. We find the outcomes justifiable within today's debate in continuously pouring money in immediate investigation entirely. So, what they continuously tell us, who is going to be impacted within today's debate as the entrepreneur. But then they fail to concede that the entrepreneur is going to be harmed when schemes still exist. When schemes still exist, that means individuals lose trust in the banking system. When individuals lose trust in the banking system, they don't save money anymore within those commercial banks. When they don't save money anymore, commercial banks can't have the ability to give out loans to businesses to invest within the economy. Investors and entrepreneurs are more harmed within the current status quo if you continuously allow schemes to exist within itself. We think that the comparative within today's debate is who best protects things such as the investor, who best protects things such as the individual on the ground who's continuously falling in the hands of schemes within itself. We find that the bigger benefits exist on proposition within today's debate. So what are the clashes within today's debate and how comparatively we win on those clashes entirely, right? So the first clash is the mandate of the central bank. What are those mandates? They agree that the central bank has a mandate to regulate, to safeguard economic stability within the country. This is something they agree on, but they fail to ensure how that mandate is then exercised within the current status quo. Who best fulfill that mandate comes from proposition within today's debate when we tell you as to how it is then their mandate to safeguard these individuals who can't afford the bread but continuously fall in the traps of these schemes entirely. How comparatively and pragmatically you get better outcomes on our side. The second clash within today's debate was more on deterrence, right? Who best caters to deterrence? Who best keeps like the individuals who continuously create and form these schemes away from our economy? You only get that from proposition and not from opposition. They fail to give us a mechanism in which we deter individuals from creating the schemes entirely. That is how they fail, continuously fail. We hear lousy response to this particular thing. They give us as to how there are 75 recommendations as to how we can actually do this, but there's no implementation. That is a lousy response to how we can better cater to deterrence within our economy. We want better response and we want better alternative if they're gonna continuously tell us how bad our solution is. How? Secondly, the third clash within today's debate is investment, right? And which house best caters to investment. Within proposition, we tell you two things. We tell you as to how restoring and maintaining trust is very important for investment. But secondly, we tell you as to how the loss of investment occurs when you continuously fail to have some immediate investigation that ensures individuals' trust within the banking system and central banks entirely. You hear that from two different cases, that being ARA and that being IRIS. What do they particularly tell you? Restoring trust is inherently important because individuals can continuously save. But most importantly, the loss of investment is entirely harmful because those individuals on the ground continuously can't spend money. But secondly, individuals and investors and entrepreneurs that you're trying to protect continuously can't start their businesses and the ideas that they want within that economy within itself. The ability to better cater for things such as investment and savings, deterrence, and the mandate of the central bank only comes from proposition, and that is how opposition failed within today's debate. They failed to give us a solution. They failed within their entire case. With that, I'd like to arrest my case.
We thank the whip of the government. Final speaker for this panel, opposition whip, will summarize the entire debate from the point of view of the opposition, defending the general viewpoint of both opposition teams with a special eye towards the case of the second opposition. Once again, a reminder to the judges, they do not provide any new arguments. Please give a warm round of applause to Honorable Frida Asino.
No. My time starts in 3, 2, 1. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be doing the whip speech. So first of all, I just wanted to say the main issue within today's debate is not that the main issue within the debate that team proposition failed to actually understand is the reason why people have been scamming people. People don't understand the reason why people are resorting to FIC, illegal financial schemes. The reason being is because of high unemployment rate, just like the first speaker said. The reason why is because there is not a lot of there's not a lot of mechanisms that people can work with, so people resort to scamming. We don't have a problem with the regulations. We just feel that it's a waste of taxpayers' money. We can be using this money for other things to improve our country's economy, such as education and creating job employment. No, I'll take you in my last minute. Please do not disturb me until then. Okay, and so, ladies and gentlemen, before I even go into my rebuttals, we team opposition are saying that we do not have a problem with these regulations. We just feel that it's a waste of taxpayers' money, and we don't see the urgency within today's debate. Reason why, ladies and gentlemen, there are people going hungry within this country, ladies and gentlemen. There are still people who are dying from malnutrition, ladies and gentlemen. Like the first speaker said, we need to focus this taxpayers' money in education. So I'll go into my rebuttals, ladies and gentlemen. I'll start with the first speaker started here saying, yes, people are being scammed, victims are being scammed, but the main question is, why is there scams happening, ladies and gentlemen? That is the main issue that we need to address within today's debate. Not that we are, sorry, please pardon me, I'm quite nervous. Okay. Okay, no. I would like to say, how do you expect citizens to trust the men on the? How do you expect citizens to trust the governments? Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Sorry. Okay, obligations to protect people larger. Okay, they come up here and saying that the bank has a larger obligation to protect the people from financial products such as Forex and Ponzi schemes. And then they also say something about 30% investment returns, ladies and gentlemen. But how is it that we are able to, how can we trust these financial institutes oh Lord. Section 2. Okay, so
We are saying there is no need for these regulations clearly because Section 2 of the Section 2 of the Bank of Namibia Act 2002 clearly states that if there is more than 20 members and if the fines are more than 500,000, there is a need for investigation. So why do we actually? Oh Lord, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry. There is already regulations and acts which have been put in place, ladies and gentlemen. So what we are saying, we don't want to use our taxpayers for these investigations because investigation requires time. You need money. You need time. You need money for this type of investigations, ladies and gentlemen. Which we are saying we do not have. We want to focus on other things, ladies and gentlemen. How do we then trust the financial institutes? And I can give you an example of SME banking. SME banking is small medium enterprises. This was an initiative that was supposed to create income for small businesses, so people were supposed to create employment and were supposed to actually increase their livelihood through that bank. But what then happened to the millions of dollars that was associated with this group, but it went missing, ladies and gentlemen. So how does then team of proposition expect us to trust these financial institutions
It's your last minute,
that
Frida.
are...
POI.
Yes.
Okay, under the concession that there are bigger problems, and the bigger problems that you mentioned are unemployment and people dying. Don't you think those people are in a better off position if, like, they are trustworthy investments that they can invest in society?
Then how do I actually, this trustworthy investing, how these trustworthy investments, ladies and gentlemen, there is no such proof, there is no been, I'm so sorry guys, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Can we have another loud round of applause for the debating members? Thank you very much. That concludes the first round, of course. The semifinals, basically, of the tertiary institutions debating challenge for 2025. When we come back after this break, we'll be getting into the final. But for now, we'll hand over back to the Master of Ceremony, Ms. Sonia Namadiku. Please give a warm round of applause as the debaters also step off the stage.
Woo! I have to say, I'm very happy that I wasn't on the receiving end of those arguments. That was absolutely heated and absolutely brilliant. I think let's give another round of applause to our participants. Now, before we move into the next part of our program, it's a bit of an exciting one. I think the debates were very heated. We want to give your minds a moment to rest. I just felt like the bank caught a stray there for no reason. Did anyone else get that sense? Yeah. So, now, it's time for us to shift gears and turn this debating stage into a dance floor. So we've brought out performers you know and performers you love. They've taken what constitutes Namibian music to the next level. And it's artists whose songs that you've heard at parties, they're part of your playlist, they're part of my playlist. They've given us anthems such as Open Up, they've given us anthems such as IG, Champions League, and Oh Hole So Nice. You already know who I'm talking about. Give it up for Ethnics.
nare dakarande makunga nare omfukongo nare dakarande makumba nare dekukumba dekuleza ondekuhala ngeke waza lokabwira ondekutira.
What's up, guys? Are you guys ready? Are you ready?
Dakarande makunga nari omfukongo nari dakarande makumba nari dekukumba dekuleza ondekuhala ngeke waza lokabwira ondekutira patenda tokoro kushanga kambapira maripura maika and baby girl, you know your body is a killer. Orange, otai faranje mombira. Hello, me size. Tashika no kamwirwa. You are so nyenye. Wafo shiku vila.
Undu womure. Womure huruzungurunugalo. Muganduma hambanana wayo. Mugandua tubike mugoti. Magori virago mugulamewo. Waje wamukaga inyawo badumbeyiwe kweji nyata nyata kweji wonjo katini otu. Okay, DJ. Come on, guys, what's up? Hey. You say your friend doesn't like me, yeah, but then he follows me on IG, yeah, cause he says he wanna wipe me. You're the only one I see, yeah.
I know your friend doesn't like me, but you like all the pictures on my IG. Mama, so mad that you the only one that I see. Oh, cara company.
It's kinda to a point where you know that it don't matter what I do. No dibatara goma muhopo goma nini. He's always gonna wanna walk up on me. Siena na joni pumwe shaide. Okamutanda make haro kuridi nikirira kwa me. Shaide, shaide. Ooh yeah. Hami hunde bitara momunde gomure. Orugoro me uro shogoro no lago. Umba way. You say your friend doesn't like me, yeah, but then he follows me on IG, yeah, cause he says he wanna wipe me. You're the only one I see, yeah.
I know your friend doesn't like me, but you like all the pictures on my IG. Mama, so mad that you the only one that I see. Oh, cara company. Yeah. Echo me doe odo fasa. Mami te dago o makaka. Amitiku ole kesha. Abesho valandiva pe kumarukusa. Yeah. Girl go IG, checking the lighty. Yeah, me likes me, she wants to be my wifey. Even if they like me, they see my type B. They don't satisfy me, girl you satisfy me. I see you walking on the street looking gorgeous. Put your number in my phone, let me go, yeah. Echo me do shooting shots, but because of you I dish it on the point.
You say your friend doesn't like me, yeah, but then he follows me on IG, yeah, cause he says he wanna wipe me. You're the only one I see, yeah.
I know your friend doesn't like me, but you liking all the pictures on my IG. Mama, so mad that you the only one that I see, yeah. Oh, cara company, yeah.
What's up, guys? Just come a little bit closer, man. Why you guys so far away? What's going on? Why you guys so far away? Why you guys so far away? And then we have the shy ones in front. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's go. You say your friend doesn't like me, yeah, but then he follows me on IG, yeah, cause he says he wanna wipe me. You're the only one I see, yeah.
I know your friend doesn't like me, but you liking all the pictures on my IG. Mama, so mad that you the only one that I see, yeah. Your cara company.
make sure, man, you the only one that I see.
All right. I'm sure this side is so shy. It's either you're shy or you guys are coming out of Windhoek. Because there is no ways you're from Windhoek and you're sitting so still, boy.
Come on. DJ, let's go.
If you don't love me no more, ethnics, yeah.
Alright, let's go.
If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love, cause I got enough love for the both of us, yeah. Don't you worry, my love, I got enough love for the both of us. Don't you worry, my love. If you don't love me no more, ethnics, yeah. Don't you worry, my love. Yeah. To other men you were rubbish, but you the rubbish that I want. I might be very, very stupid for you. Marageza bamboo made a plan. Put up in another girl that I want. While they get my love, who want get man. Put on the conji finger on the demo. No hello, I could not get more man. Oh, all is so nice, so sweet, so big. It won't fit it. Oh, it's so it's so ipenge. If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love, cause I got enough love for the both of us, yeah. Don't you worry, my love, I got enough love for the both of us. Don't you worry, my love. If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love.
Bali ambaye mbirahiwa, bali ambata tumithiwa. Bongoro neither for poker. Kama munjita tumitho chochita tuko muti. If you don't love me no more, jeda mbithire na indoranje. If you don't got your love no more, you can always share mine. Pero orua, amarushata, amarupurukitha, amarushata. We can always share.
If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love, cause I got enough love for the both of us, yeah. Don't you worry, my love, I got enough love for the both of us. Don't you worry, my love. If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love. So open up, me have to push it in. Got it in only and got keep it in. Sit up on it, girl, don't be lazy. You know man, I prefer mboka kadona hoop it in.
You know you gotta better keep it down. Happy in all and hold it down. You know they're always gonna be talking. Mokara motarere, baby, just keep it down.
If you don't love me no more, don't you worry, my love, cause I got enough love for the both of us, yeah.
I've got enough
love. Don't you worry, my love, I got enough love for the both of us.
Don't you worry, my love.
If you don't love me no more,
Don't you worry, my love.
what's up? Let's go, man.
TJ, your time to shine.
Yeah.
I'm just here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. It's a bad day, not a bad life. Kanjaro nduri marondando.
Maybe one day we can make love on a Sunday. We can make love to the Befuta. We can have a coffee, got to Penduka. So open up, make her enter. Make her bring it back to the center. So open up, me I enter. Make her bring it back to the center. Oh baby, we can make love in a car to the Befuta. I'm just here for the fun, I'm not here for a long time. So bring your lips, let me kiss them. Up on this shiva kutula momo system. I'ma be the act of a hitman. I'ma dish money on the popo wingman. So open up, I make her enter. Oh nena, on the no kubu venda. Oh toto na, oh no kupinda. Yeah, no, tambolo vele venda. Baby, maybe one day we can make love on a Sunday. We can make love to the Befuta. We can have a coffee, got to Penduka. So open up, make her enter. Make her bring it back to the center. So open up, me I enter. Make her bring it back to the center. open up, me I enter. Make a bring it back to the center.
I'm just here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. It's a bad day, not a bad life. Kanja don't do it, don't dando. Kanja don't do it. Kanja don't do it, don't dando. Hey, hey, hey.
Baby, maybe one day we can make love on a Sunday. We can make love to the Bebuta. We can know goofy finger to Penduka. So open up, make a enter. Make a bring it back to the center. So open up, me I enter. Make a bring it back to the center.
I'm just here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. It's a bad day, not a bad life. Kanjaron duri maron dando. Thank you so much. Huh?
Danko.
Kanji what?
We love you guys.
Kanjaron duri. Kanjaron duri maron dando. Yeah, then you guys finish, man. Your voice is gone. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
We love you guys so much. Thank you so much.
So many reasons why I want it for you, my love. Now you want to retire with my love. Oh. See all the little good things you do, they make me know. This distance is taking a hold on me for sure. Baby, come. Mama, I want to make me there. And I want to make you love. Oh, no. I feel like make you love. Shaping up this kind of things where they make man see ya. And me, I understand. So your dad don't like me, rara. Say me, I won't make you know. Say me there for you, gotta. And if not the price be that, I feel like to see ya. I never traded you for nothing. This love will make you come for me.
The winner for 2024 is University of Namibia.
So the initial statement was that we're not here to take part, we're here to take over as an institution, and I think we did that quite well. So a lot of credit to my teammates. It was a collective effort for us to achieve this, winning this tournament.
It was a hassle. I can even say it's by miracle that we even partook in the competition. But the overall performance was amazing. Truly, the experience of just seeing how other minds think on the exact same topic, I can say the wins are well deserved for sure. Today we came second in the competition after being the reigning champions for 2 years. UNAM took it this year and congratulations to them, but obviously next year it will be coming back home.
baba funa iphatsana asa ishu yebo baba yebo baba asa yebo baba asa yebo baba ishu yebo baba.
So the competition is so tight, guys. The judges are still locking in their answers, their decisions. It's a very fierce debate back there. So just give us a few minutes for them to lock in those decisions, and they'll be out with their decision. Who do we think is going to take it? Who's going to go to the finals? I heard IUM. Did I hear anything else? It's just IUM to the finals. Okay. Please bear with us. We'll be with you shortly. Please enjoy this musical interlude. Thank you. So let's give it up one more time for ethnics. But now we've had passion, we've had fire, we've had some very sharp arguments on this stage. But that's what debating is all about. And our debaters have left everything on the stage, all of our teams. But now the question on everyone's mind is who will advance to the finals? So for this moment that you've been waiting for, I would like to invite our head judge, Ms. Karen Elago, who I mistakenly said was the Deputy Director for On-Site Analysis, but it's On-Site Examination, at the Bank of Namibia to deliver the decision. Give it up for Karen. And also just a minor announcement, the person driving a white Polo 42665 Windhoek, if you could just move your car, I think you're blocking somebody. Thank you. Karen, everyone.
Thank you and good afternoon. First and foremost to our debate teams and our participants and to the audience. I think first before I announce the team that will proceed to the next session, I just want to say well done to the teams. It's, I think, very daunting to stand up here and have all eyes on you and engage in heated debates on, I think, a topical issue. So I think you did very well, and I understand that sometimes the nerves can kick in, but I think it's a natural human response. I'm nervous just standing up here, so you can imagine. I think I definitely enjoyed the discussions. I think being on the regulatory side at the Bank of Namibia, these are debates and discussions we engage in often among ourselves and with members of the public. And I believe the team did very well in terms of educating and bringing forth some of those arguments to this platform. And I think the teams were very educative in terms of the mandate of the central bank. So I saw some of that coming in and where the Bank of Namibia draws its powers from in terms of the Banking Institutions Act. So well done in researching and creating that foundation for yourselves as well as the public in bringing forth to what we do and why we do it. And central to our mandate to safeguard financial stability is really to ensure and reinforce public trust and confidence in the financial system. So well done to the teams for bringing that forth and educating the members of the public. And I hope that you continue to learn and interrogate the subject of financial, of the financial system, but also illegal financial schemes. I think in terms of general feedback on the debates themselves and the arguments, just a few notes that I've made in terms of the strengths, and really well done to the debaters and the various participants on the stage. I think the arguments were good, well structured, clear. Some of the strong points I've seen for some of the teams, especially on the opposition as well as on the side of the government defending the Bank of Namibia's mandate. You brought in the local context. I think sometimes we lose sight that regulation needs to serve the public good and the national interest, highlighting the role of consumer education and awareness in curbing illegal financial schemes. You delivered your points confidently. I think despite the nerves, you portrayed your arguments well. You made persuasive arguments. The teams were able to keep the audience engaged throughout. I was listening and learning and taking notes, and you managed your time well. So we saw that you were able to make all your arguments and key points and rebuttals within the allocated time. I think for the next round, what I would suggest, or just some notes for the next teams to consider, is strengthen your arguments and rebuttals with facts and practical examples. I think that's always important from a public point of view to understand practically what it means for them and how this plays out in the real world. Success lies in preparation. Structure your arguments well, focus on how you structure your arguments, and narrow down your key arguments to 1 or 2 points and really drive home the point to the audience in convincing us that you are right, whether you are supporting the motion or rebutting it. I think in closing, whether the team was affirming the motion that was put forth or rebutting the motion that was put forth, The arguments were persuasive on both ends, and I'm confident that our participants will continue the education and the discussion off the stage, even if you're not part of the debate in the next round. And I hope that you have not only, I think, improved or strengthened your own skill and confidence when it comes to debating on a public stage, but you've also learned or have the desire to learn more about regulation, and hopefully we'll see some of you at the Bank of Namibia one day on the other side, on the regulatory side. So I think with those comments, I would like to proceed with announcing the teams that will proceed to the final round. So I hope everyone is excited and ramped up for that. All right. So without further delay, the two teams that will proceed to the final round of the debate will be the UNAM team So well done to the UNAM team for making it to the next round. And the second team to proceed to the next round is the team from NUST. So congratulations to the two teams that will make it to the final round. And before I leave the stage, I also have the job of sharing the motion for the next round with you. So for the next round, the motion will be, this House believes that Namibia should adopt stricter regulatory frameworks, including holding influencers and promoters legally accountable for endorsing illegal financial schemes. So I'll repeat that one last time. This House believes that Namibia should adopt stricter regulatory frameworks, including holding influencers and promoters legally accountable for endorsing illegal financial schemes. So I look forward to hearing the arguments on both ends in defending and rebutting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much and congratulations once again. Can we hear it for the top two teams? I just wanted to announce that there was a directive that was given at the back that whoever wins, that 30%, in fact 15% must come to me as a form of tax. On behalf of NAMRA, I'm doing the collection this time. Nonetheless, I just want to ask the two teams that were announced. Hello, I'm still in charge here. Thank you. The two teams that have won or that are selected for the finals, please pass through the door to come backstage. Sonia will give you direction for preparation. We will give those two teams exactly 12 minutes for them to prepare and come back in to debate the final motion. Thank you very much.